Osiris.
Welcome to the Saint Disruption Podcast, where brilliant musicians, poets, and visionaries come together to share their creative collaborations and explore what it means to be human in these times.
Welcome to the continued talk with Poetikah and Vernon Reid regarding their collaboration of poetry and music titled Storyteller Nation in part 2 of this episode.
Can you tell us a little bit about the conditions around the creation of the poem? When did you write it, and what was the spark?
That was probably around the time that we started emailing there. But I was in a theatre show called Drummer Warrior Storyteller. The end of October. An artist and filmmaker and writer, Apex Zero, one of my good friends, he finally got the funding for this theatre production, like a live, immersive theatre production. And it's called Drummer Warrior Storyteller, but it's based on, what's his name? Chinua
Achebe?
Yeah.
Things Fall Apart?
Exactly. So that's where he got the idea for the script from. So then that at the time, that was all happening around the same time, starting the correspondence. We'd be there, Jeff, and everything just tied in and made sense at the time. That, the drummer calls the people to war and to action. The warriors actually fight the war and deal with the conflict, but it's the storyteller that survives and has to tell the story of everybody, basically.
That's pretty exciting to know. I wasn't aware that you created this after our conversation. Wow, that brings a whole new dimension to it. That's pretty exciting.
It's from a theater, but which is from the book, and that's also historic. So yeah.
It makes your reference in the poem to darkness. You make a reference to spending lots of time in the dark, and it's not the darkness of depravity, the darkness of absence. It's that rich darkness of going inwards to the place of the soul to source what storytellers source. I love that too. So much now makes even more sense that I know how this was birthed. That's great.
Just a quick thing, sorry. Before all of you go to sleep tonight, I have some homework. If you haven't already, please watch my latest video, The Hurricane.
The Hurricane?
Cinematic. That's cinematic.
Is it on YouTube?
It's on YouTube. It can be streamed everywhere, but it's THAH. That's how I spell The Hurricane. But that's a nice little watch and a listen.
So it seems like right now there's this reemergence of poetry and deeply meaningful lyrics being mashed up with amazing music, kind of hearkening back to Brian, your early career. I mean, what's your sense of what's happening now? Is this sort of an exciting time of reemergence of the new and the old? Tell us a little bit about what your perspective is on the times and the new use of and creative impulse of poetry right now.
I'm so about the tradition and the ancient the timelessness of the storytelling culture, that I kind of don't see a difference. I only see kind of a continuum. I think probably the most amazing thing about what I hear now is, and I suppose not just about what I hear now, but what I've always heard, is the ability to take a limited number of words and use them so many ways to say, I don't want to say the same thing, but it kind of is the same thing. It always points back to one great truth that can't be said, that can't actually be spoken. And I guess what it really that's the thing that probably amazes me most about every young poet and every young person that catches my ear, or that actually makes me feel something, is that here is someone who is able to use this limited vocabulary to have another way to speak the truth. Poetikah, you certainly are one of those, one of those people. I'm more influenced by people who are able to say the same things in different ways, in a different way.
That is the exciting edge of poetry and lyrics is saying a lot with few words. It kind of reminds me of that funny Mark Twain quote, gosh, Vernon, I'm sorry I had to write you such a long letter. If I had more time, I would have written you a short one.
It was shorter.
Right? In a way, relating it to music, in terms of Western music, we have the 12 tones to work with, of course, you can get into the microtonal thing, whatever. But what's so interesting to me is you'll get to a place where you think you've heard all the moves that people have, right? You hear all the things, the pseudo samba, the halfway funk, you hear all the things, you know what I mean? The not quite blues, you hear all of the stuff. And you think, and you hear all the kind of, it's funny because when you get to a certain point where you've been around music a lot, you've heard a lot of music, you can hear what people are trying to do, what they're not trying to do, what they pretending to do, you hear all the subterfuges, the this and that, you know what I mean? You hear I'm gonna allude to this, but I ain't gonna say that, and it's like, and whenever an artist, comes through and they come up with a riff, right? Because I'm obsessed with riffs, that repeating, that thing that comes out that's like, that you can listen to it over and over again. It's amazing to me. And even certain moves that you can know what they are theoretically and hear them, it's amazing once you hear a riff that you would swear, how did this person come up with it? Because when the really great riffs come, they always seem mad obvious. When you hear it, you're like, and there's nothing more enraging than you didn't come up with it. You know what I mean? Somebody comes up
with it first,
you first, it's like, every time a Jack White record comes out, I listen to it, I go, damn it, he did it again. Son of a gun. You know what I mean? It's like it's or like Prince had a genius for it. Prince had a genius for because Prince was a total, a maestro musically, But one of his great his greatest genius were the things that he did that were really basic, like Sign of the Times. You know what I mean? Something like it's just a minor third thing, whatever, and it's like, but he does it in such a way, or when he did Kiss, which is basically a blues, right? And I remember when Kiss came out, people were like, oh, he's done, he's finished, he's got nothing left. And then he came out with this track and everyone was like, oops, I love that. And it's just like the same thing with words, like expressing, how do you say I love you? Because everybody said it.
Yeah.
But there's something about when a particular person is saying that to a particular person they have in mind that makes it brand new.
Feeling brand new, like the stylistics. It's good.
What you know about the stylistics, Chelsea?
Right?
I'm 1,001 years old. Whatever. Tell you.
Okay, making claims.
Yeah,
making
really.
I've
claims.
been listening to the last
Making
poet,
claims.
and
Look here.
honestly, well, I know it's just a bit.
You got the cheekbones to pull it off, though. See, that's what the
I've been
problem
listening
is.
to things like Angel
That's
Dust
what the
back
problem
then,
is.
honestly, and I'm just like, yeah, Brian Jack. Okay, so he's okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, just got okay. Let's just take it down a moment. I've brought his poetry books. I've given them to my dad and my brother and things like that. And I'm just like, oh my God. I don't know why it's made sense for me from just such a young age, but newer music, I'm trying to do better with maybe listening to more newer music and, but it just in the first instance doesn't sit in my spirit. It doesn't just resonate like that. So, you know, I'm
So
looking.
are you the black
I'm
sheep of your
looking for the
family?
next bass riff. After piano, it's going to be bass and drums, and I can already. Yeah,
So, Poetikah, are you the black sheep of your family?
I'm not the black sheep. I think I'm just the one that was sent here to just do this. I don't know, to just do this. I'm the youngest though.
You have siblings?
Yeah.
So
Our age
do you
gaps are quite.
do you enchant? Do you enchant or appall your siblings?
I think I would enchant them, but even though I'm the youngest, I'm quite independent. So like I went away for university. I do my thing. I'll travel alone. Not alone, but
So you escaped. So basically, you escaped.
I don't
You got
think
out.
I fool them. Hopefully not. Yeah, our age gaps are quite big. So not just what I was listening to at home on a Sunday when Sunday dinner's being cooked, you know, courtesy of being Jamaican, rice and peas and chicken. We're in there every Sunday. And there's Al Green in the back, Curtis Mayfield, John Holt,
All right,
Billie Holiday, and some gospel music going on. But then I also have elder siblings that, okay, my sister's born in 1980. Whatever you're listening to, I'm getting it. So the Nas, Beanie Man, all just sounds and music. And then my brother, who's 5 years older than me, oh, you're listening to Tupac and Beanie Siegel and rapping, and then I'm just getting it. So then everything trickles down to me. And then I just had to take it overboard and start listening to music from the 30s and 40s. Let's just keep going back, you know. So
you're up on your Duke Ellington.
Feeling Sentimental that is him, right?
Sentimental Mood, yeah. I
That's,
just a version of Caravan that just like totally blew me away. You know,
Duke Ellington. Oh, I mean, I'll write down a little list.
You talk about the trio version?
I'll say Brian Jackson told me to listen to it. That's what happened. Hold on.
tell him Brian Jackson sent you. Yeah, Newport, Duke Ellington at Newport, 1958. There's a cut on there called Diminuendo in Blue. And that song, I think I listened to it came out and I must have been about 6 when that album came out, and my parents had it. And I just remember thinking, because Ben Gonsalves took a solo that lasted, I think Paul Gonsalves must have lasted about 10 minutes. You know, the one side of the album was just Paul Gonsalves blowing over this, over this groove. And the people it was at Newport Jazz Festival, and people just lost their minds. I've seen a couple of clips of it, of what people were like. They just like he had whipped them up into a state that was just like unbelievable. And I think that was the first time in my life that I realized the power that music, that music has. Emotion.
Some of my favorite tracks are just the long ones, either the extended version of something Michael Jackson's done, or any James Brown, the Boss.
Yeah.
The Payback. Like And I'll keep listening to it over and over and over and over again. And I'm like, this is 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
You know, there's
It's
a
9
funny,
minutes
there's a
long,
funny
but I'm in there.
story. So I actually, back in the days, I actually, they used to have these tours, these State Department jazz tours, the USIS, you know, which is probably a front for the CIA, but that's another story for another time. Yeah, the US Information Service Cultural Exchange. And I was with Jay Hogarth, the great vibraphonist, and Onaje Allen Gums, and Jerome Harris, and Perron Akloff. You know, we traveled to the Middle East and India. And we had these kind of cultural attaches. They were kind of almost like road managers. So you go to a place and there'd be a State Department official that was part of it, right?
Yeah.
But they were really cool people. For the most part, you know, for CIA agents, they were pretty cool people, right? And one of them was a slightly older woman, and she hung around. She knew Duke Ellington and the big band, right? And she told a story, said that like number one, Duke would get inspiration for tunes at any time. So he would be in the middle of the night, and then he would wake everybody up, he'd call everybody up, you know, come down to I got something, right? So he would go, and it was, you know what I mean? And I heard that about Prince too. Like Prince, if he had inspiration, he would, at any time you would get a call, go to the thing, right? So here's the other thing I was told, is that if Duke was kind of displeased with you, one of his ways of punishing somebody was to feature them to keep soloing all night. So he would say, he would have a tune, right? Because he had this running thing with Paul Gonsalves, right? He had this kind of love-hate thing with Paul Gonsalves. And he would play a tune and go, and the next, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, the next tune is going to feature the wonderful Paul Gonsalves. Now, mind you, he's already played 30 choruses, right? He's done. And he would go, and he would Paul, and it would be like, he'd be 20 choruses, and the crowd goes wild, and you know what I mean? And they say, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And this next tune is going to feature the wonderful Paul Gonsalves.
Oh, I'm a feat now. I'm a feat.
So we just murder, you know. Oh yeah.
That must have been one of those. That must have been one of those nights.
11:58, right? Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice talking to music humans. Not everyone understands.
I don't think I've ever heard it phrased like that. Music humans. You're a real poet, Poetikah. Chelsea.
Yeah. Everything. Oh, I feel what you said. I can't help it. It just happens.
It makes sense to me that you're, I mean, just from the poem that when I listen to things, you know, it's not so much about the micro analyzation as it is the flow and the general feeling, and the way you use words is like that. The way, like, you know, we use notes for, you know, it's not just, although the notes are very specific, but it's to create an impression, you to create an expression of something, you know, and I think that's what I really love about your poem, is like it's so deep and full of, I guess, heavy information, but it's not preachy at all.
Yep.
I don't know if you know what I mean. It's like an expression. Yeah, it's so beautiful, you know.
Thank you.
That it's like, you know, it's like you get these deep messages across, but you know, I don't feel like even though you are telling me what's up, I don't feel like you're doing it in a way that's other than an offering, you know, of truth, and it's just really beautiful. I had one question, you know, I don't like to analyze, I'm going to analyze, but you when you, so in one of the lines, you're like, so you talk about hieroglyphics, like as like, you know, code, so our enemies can stay far from we, right? And I'm just kind of like, what are we keeping them away from?
Well, it's the energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's always, you could have 99% of people for you, but there's always going to be one that's not. Okay. It's just duality. It's just science. Nothing is ever just one thing. There's always even the tiniest slither of something else. And even what we do offer as poets and wordsmiths and spoken word artists, it's things out there just aren't for righteousness. it's just in no way of righteousness or good or joy or peace or love. And whatever that is an enemy to what we're doing, which is just constant truth. We're trying to keep it righteous. We're trying to help people. We're offering, we're giving, where love is giving. So it's like you're loving people, you know. I don't know how other poets feel. Some people have become poets and some of us are just designed like this. This is what I am. It's not just, oh, I'm going to start spoken word poetry and I take it seriously in terms of what I'm giving, because there is a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of just empty, it's music, I guess, but it's everything I'm doing, everything I'm writing, it's a code in a way, but not everyone should be able to read it or encrypt or decrypt it or, you know, or get to it really. And not that it's only for certain people, but I think if everyone got it, it just wouldn't be what it was. It wouldn't be special. It wouldn't be powerful. So some things need a little bit of a concealing to, you know, cloak of invisibility, Harry Potter moment, just to get past it. Yeah.
You can try.
You can try. You think you can see me, but I'm looking at you under the cloak. So.
I'm really facing the other way.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, it's so funny because when we talk about our truths, you know, which are encoded in history and shared experiences, encoded in the family experience, encoded in, you know, all the different interactions we have in the quote unquote marketplace of ideas or what have you, you know, that the thing to bear in mind sometimes is that the forces arrayed against, they take the poetical impulse or the improvisational impulse very differently than the way we take it, right? Because that's the thing. Something that's an expression for you is a threat to them, and it's interpreted as a threat. If you're open to certain things and talking about certain things, it's not something to dwell on, but it's just a fact to know, is that there are folks that are like, you know, just you being who you are, your existence is a threat to a certain modality that they in. About Black women, about women from the Caribbean, about people from the UK. You could pick your category, about poets, about female poets, about whatever it is, right? And the very fact that you are bad and bold enough to have something to say is like, there's the, you know, the force arrayed is like, oh, you got to get back in line. Are you out of line? You know, like so much of, like, one of the most interesting rhetorical questions is, who you think you are? Like, and that's class, that's race, that's gender, that's all. But who do you know, that literally, that question is a challenge. And it's like, because it's something like, who do you think you are? You know, it's usually followed with, you think you can just waltz in here and, you know.
Yeah. Sorry.
I've always been curious as to why it's not like something like foxtrot or, you know, it's always like something. What is it about waltzing that particularly enrages?
You think you could just?
You think you could just do the running man in here?
You walk in here and do that.
You know, you think you could just Charleston your ass up in here?
You know. The can like, honestly, it's just
you know. Hey man, it's something about saying, you know, I'm a cakewalk into town, right? As an express, that there's something about that. It's funny, but it's about a projection of identity and a projection of a self. That's like, for people that ain't trying to hear that, they really.
I think I use like a non-verbatim line of Saul Williams from the movie Slam. He's like, never question who I am, God knows. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
That's all I needed to hear. I was just like, that's it. That shuts it down. Don't question me and what I'm doing. This is It's between
But
me.
of course, that's gonna be, but that's gonna come down. But see, a lot of times it's gonna come down because that's exactly what's gonna come down because you are out here saying what you're saying, and that's one of the things that's like to just have a solidity within ourselves to be exactly who we are at whatever the present moment is. Weirdly, that's just you being you, but you being you is confrontational. And to get that idea is weird because you ain't trying to hurt nobody, right? But to understand that is a part of what we're kind of dealing with in society, is something. It's something.
That goes along with something that I realized not too long ago, that maybe somebody out here needs to hear, is that a lot of us feel that, a lot of us don't have any enemies. We don't feel like anyone is our enemy. Okay.
Right.
Like I will say to you, well, I don't have any enmity towards anyone. I have no enemies. But then what we often don't take into consideration is that your enemy is not just someone who you don't consider an enemy, but your enemy can be someone who considers you an enemy. They make you an enemy.
Yeah.
They make themselves an enemy of you. That's what I'm trying to say. So a lot of times we don't necessarily know. We might have enemies, but we don't know who they are because we don't look at people like that.
Yeah.
Right.
But they are, in a very real sense, they still are. And
one of the things I've done with that is to turn enemies into opponents. Because an opponent is like playing your boy basketball, right? Y'all basketball, but in the game, y'all are opponents, right? And an opponent is very different than an enemy, right? An enemy is someone you need to destroy and who needs to destroy you.
Yes.
An opponent is someone you need to engage.
Yeah, you could actually have an ongoing relationship with your arch nemesis throughout your whole life. Like, we need
your arch frenemy.
Just like you have to do it. You have to the best against the best every once in a while, and that type of energy. But there's still some sort of honor.
Yeah.
Underlining.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about movies. I'm like, you see, him and him. You think
you mean like the third act, the friend that's not a friend?
Yeah. Is that your friend? That's not your friend.
That's not your friend. That's not your friend.
That's not your friends. Okay. No.
Where activism needs to go, isn't it? I mean, this us against them thing. I love that, Vernon. This idea that we reframe the oppositional forces as not enemies, but
opponent. Yeah,
it's great. Yeah,
an opponent. Yeah, because people like to say, it always kills me when somebody says, they game in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is hilarious because the system is literally a game. The system is literally a game.
That's what I call it. It's like, it's a game. There's no rules. I think we've seen that by now. Apparently, there's just no rules.
The rules keep shifting, and the rules can flip. The rules can flip at any particular time. But the thing is to take animus and that kind of self-destructive, you know what I mean, that kind of hatred and really redirect it. And once we redirect it, it becomes less personal, it becomes less hateful. And after all, people that are trapped inside of whatever negative, space that they're in, well, one of the things to think about is they're in that negative space. They have to grimace when they see you. They have to go through the whole routine. They have to go through I don't like, they have to go through that whole routine, which is kind of which is really pretty debilitating for them, really,
Time wasting.
I think there's a drought of, I think intelligence can save people from a lot of things.
Intelligence is funny though. Intelligence funny because
you could go through life ignorant and that causing whatever that causes, or you could actually connect to the intellect, which is there because really it's just your consciousness, but that can change the way you see a lot of things instead of, oh, I hate this and the system and the game. But it's like, okay, the system is just the system. Okay. So instead of hating it and thinking about it and leaving it there, I have to use my head and my intelligence and figure out a way to go around the game, you know, or find your loopholes or your cheat cards in the game and just like, okay, well, everybody else is finding some sort of way to not beat the system. You can't beat the system, but we're in it. And we might think, oh, that person's got that, you know, especially with social media. How did they get to that point? And I'm thinking, but most of us are, I can't say no one's smart, sorry, but we have these brains that are able to learn and take in more information. It's the age of information, but we're all losing faculties every single time, you know. Quasimodo kind of it's not being engaged all the time because it is just there. So I think the engaging with that intellect that is in everybody can save you from a lot of that energy, hatred, and being like it's the enemy and the chip on the shoulder. And you know.
It's funny because a lot of times the person, your opponent, will have. See, there's one thing if they ain't trying to understand you and they just despise you, but it's another level when they kind of, there's a word, we use the word empathy all the time, right? And there's this word that I discovered recently called mempathy, right? And mempathy is actually completely understanding where you're coming from. They get it, but they don't care about that. Yeah. They don't. It's like having a judge. It's like going before a judge that grew up in your neighborhood. And the judge says, you know what? I grew up on the corner. I was in that same corner, blah, blah, blah. I know exactly that store you robbed. I used to shop at that store you robbed. So bang, come down the gavel. Because it's like they get it, but they're not going for it.
Yeah.
Oh, you knew Clarence Thomas?
Oh. The greatest white supremacist of all time, Clarence Thomas. They should have made him an honorary Grand Wizard a long time ago.
Telling you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but his story though is interesting because he has his reasons. He has his reasons, and they say hurt people, and he is like a prime example of that.
Of a hurt person.
Of a hurt person,
hurting people.
He was. The thing is, he's like a polarity that flipped. He was a black radical separatist. Clarence Thomas can recite verbatim whole swaths of the autobiography of Malcolm X from memory. And what happened was that it's like a polarity. It was going one way, and then it flipped, and it went completely the other way. There's nothing more deadly. If you're talking in political terms, the liberal that becomes conservative, they don't do half measures. When they flip, they go all in.
Well, it's very interesting to see how we react to trauma. We all have our own ways, to react to it. Whatever it is that helps us, best negotiate it. And often it's not effective, or it is effective.
His master moves when the Anita Hill thing. Remember that the high-tech lynching comment?
Very well.
That's one of the greatest. That to terms of in the game.
Yeah.
That was one of the greatest Marshall McLuhan media moments of all time. He took all them senators and they were frozen. They were like frozen. He was like Mr. Freeze. When he started talking about this is about high-tech lynching for blacks, and that blacks would think to themselves, and it was
brilliant.
And they were all. And when I heard it, I said, they're confirming him. After that,
yeah,
he's getting confirmed.
Exactly.
100. And he managed to make that move and then flip back around. But that was the one move where he went, you know, because people like to talk about the race card. Man, he pulled out an ace. Pulled out an ace and put it on the table.
Yeah, ace of race.
You know? Dare I say the ace of spades?
Oh!
Ouch.
It's really amazing how we do negotiate trauma, as human beings, and how art really gives us the tools, like to do that. I mean, I know in part of what I feel that what I try to do is about that. And, like Gil used to call stuff, what we did, survival kits on wax. And, I know every one of us here is searching for that way of healing. We're searching for that. It's concocting that salve, to heal what ails us. And
it's a nice full circle to your poem, Poetikah, because one of the surest ways to healing is to create beauty out of it, whether that beauty is music or through words. Master Yeshua said, conceal what is concealed, and what is concealed will destroy you. Reveal what is concealed, and what is concealed will liberate you. That's a beautiful dimension of your work and your collaboration too. I mean, there's a lot of healing medicine in those words and that sonic landscape y'all created. So thank you so very much. It's a real honor for John and I to have been witness to this unfolding. We really hope that a lot of people hear it and enjoy it and are inspired in their own ways to create and to be storytellers. So goodness, thank you all so much for taking this time with us today to share and unpack this amazing collaborative journey. We hope that it will inspire many more collaborations like this between amazing people. So we're so grateful, Poetikah and Vernon, for you all coming together like this. And Brian and John, thank you so much for holding space for this and for all your wisdom. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Vernon, as well.
Thank you so much. And I would love to do it again. Frankly, I would love to work with you
when you're ready
again. And I want to thank John in particular, because John roped me into this madness.
Yeah, well, that's right. You're welcome. Con gusto. Yeah. I heard the poem. I heard the poem. It was just like, it was like, who do I know? Oh, I know Vernon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Brother, I really appreciate it. And of course, to be in the cipher with the legendary Brian Jackson, I can't tell you. It's very, very, very special.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Always look forward to working with you. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, John, so much.
Yeah, great to see you, Brian.
Blessings to everyone out there. If you want more information about any of these amazing characters, come to our website, saintdisruption.com podcast tab. There'll be lots of information about this episode's, upcoming episodes, and past episodes. We are committed to collaboration and all the beauty and medicine it brings. So blessings to everybody. Thank you all once again. And we did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Saint Disruption Podcast, recorded and mixed by Hamilton Media Design at Sidehouse Records.
Osiris.